Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual, and we've got lots to get to. So let's get to it right away. But first, don't forget to sign up for the newsletter. I send out a newsletter. Yeah, maybe tomorrow. It's probably going to be late this week, I'll be honest with you. And don't forget to join the forum. Yesterday, somebody sent me a message on the forum. You can send me a message. And they said, you said something about 18 reasons why somebody wouldn't want to do X. Can you remember, or can you remind me what that link is? And I think I got it. I think I nailed it. But anyway, there's lots of reasons to join the forum. There's lots of things to talk about. And it's a very active forum. So hope to see you join the conversation. Hope to see you in there. Okay, Robin Urbach says, let's talk about free speech first. She says, is it possible that maybe Stephen Gellibo hasn't actually read Bill C-10? Is that possible? Sure, it's possible. Sure, it's possible. Absolutely. Who knows, right? Who knows? He's read certain parts of C-10, things that he wants to make sure you're aware of, right? Justin Trudeau is saying that conservatives don't, here, Mr. Viva Fry says, I'm a Canadian YouTuber, and you, Justin Trudeau, are not trying to support us. You're trying to censor us. It's not a conspiracy theory, way to hurl the accusation with no understanding of the term. Your heritage minister, Mr. Gellibo, admitted the truth. And then he adds Pierre Poilievre. Here's what Justin Trudeau is saying about conservatives in the House of Commons, but also in the same breath talking about YouTubers as a broad group. And I'll tell you, as a YouTuber, he's not right. And what he's doing is not helpful to us, to YouTubers as a group, if I can speak for all YouTubers, all Canadian YouTubers, for just a minute. Right? Here's Justin Trudeau.
Once again, conservatives demonstrate that they have no understanding and no appreciation of the Canadian cultural industry, the thousands upon thousands of jobs created by Canadian productions, the work done by Canadian YouTubers, the work done by Canadian musical artists and producers. These are the things that we are supporting in determining, in forcing web giants to recognize and support Canadian content. Once again, conservatives don't line themselves up with content creators or Canadians. They pick fights and look for conspiracy theories.
Right. What about conservative YouTubers? Darn it. One or the other in Trudeau's world, right? So I still think this Bill C-10 is a distraction. I think that fundamentally it's not going to go anywhere. It might come back after an election if Trudeau gets a majority. Even if it doesn't, even if they come back with a minority, the minority will look similar to what we look like now, with the Trudeau Liberals having between 150 and 170 seats, and then the NDP and the Greens controlling probably balance of power, right? Similar to how they do now, and the Bloc as well. And the Bloc is interesting because it offers another opportunity for Justin Trudeau to make a deal with somebody else. So if the NDP say no, the Bloc has enough to put them over too, right? So right, if the NDP say no, you could maybe line it up with the Bloc. So we may see a new version of this speech bill trying to target giants and pay YouTubers. Just get out of our way. Stop delisting our content. Maybe that. Let YouTube have the algorithm that it used to have before governments started monkeying with YouTube how it is now, right? It's wild. Anyway, Pierre Poilievre, moving into line 5. I was driving yesterday, and the gas was cheaper yesterday than when I filled up on the weekend. Darn it. If I had my I would do it, but I don't. I'm traveling light. I just have 2 laptops and an extra monitor and my microphone. Traveling light, right? I just couldn't bring the Stream Deck. Anyway, sorry. Regardless, I thought it was funny because line 5 obviously yet has not shut down, and usually in the mornings I check for the big news, see what's happening. I'm up early and I look to see what's going on, and nothing again this morning about line 5. I haven't seen any gas is running out. That's not to say that it's not going to happen. That's certainly not to say that. But at this moment in time, it hasn't happened yet. So that means they're still negotiating, still mediating, and who knows how that's going to play out. I honestly don't know how that's going to play out. So I hope that it does play out well, and people are able to navigate this crisis better than our government has historically been able to navigate the crises we've been currently experiencing, right? That's where we're at in Canada, unfortunately. All right, let's get into it. I'm just going to adjust something here. I think the sound is too high, so hold on. Sorry, I'm using my backup microphone, and sometimes it's too loud, and I'm watching myself hit the red a little bit, so I'm trying to back off. Sorry if I don't get it right. I apologize. Doing my best. Okay, anyway, moving back into the news. Right, line 5 didn't shut down. It could shut down, but Pierre Poilievre says, fellow Central Canadians, imagine if we had our own nationwide pipeline and did not need to ask the Americans for permission to use Canadian energy in Canada. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't it be something, guys? My goodness. Energy East? What Energy East? Alberta, in Jason Kenney's Alberta, people are not happy. People are upset with what's going on and what he's doing. And one of his MLAs, the caucus chair, stepped down. Alberta MLA Todd Loewen resigns caucus chair position in Kenney's UCP. Asked the premier to resign. Announcement made on Facebook. Is a caucus revolt growing? I'll just read the first paragraph. It says, Dear Premier Kenney, it's with a heavy heart that I must inform you of my decision to step down as UCP caucus chair. I've copied all members of caucus to inform them as well. I no longer believe that caucus can function properly, meaning meetings have been cancelled without members' consent. Significant decisions of government have been made without notice to members, and our input as elected members is rarely considered. Additionally, I feel it's best to resign this position to be able to speak freely. So carries on, and it's damning. He asks for Premier Kenney to resign, which is notable. Do I think that's going to happen? I think that we're a log in a stream at this point. I think that getting out of said stream will require an outside force, and I don't think Kenney's an outside force ready to disrupt the plans that are currently in motion. Okay. Here is a dystopian graphic novel that we're living through, just in case you weren't sure. Here is a Yonge and Dundas Square just got some dystopian new billboards about unlawful gatherings. Well, the headlines of the article, right here, if you can see, if you're watching the show on YouTube or something like that, you can see the image on BlogTO. It's got a COVID safety reminder. Unlawful gatherings are not permitted. Thank you for your compliance. I don't know what it says in the little bit there, but unlawful gatherings are not permitted. In like handy blue conservative coloring, like blue and white, and it is conservative coloring. Is that Toronto coloring? It might be Toronto coloring. But interesting that it's very, very stark, very clear messaging. It's empty. Like what a dystopian nightmare we have created for ourselves. We've allowed our elected officials to create for us, right? Here's another one. Yesterday, some protests are allowed, I guess. Benign Birth demands equal enforcement of the law. Benign Birth Canada is calling for public health orders to be enforced consistently as illegal mass gatherings are being planned across the country in opposition to the Jewish state. In the interests of everyone's safety, most Canadians from Sorry, hold on. Sorry about that. There may or may not be a trampoline. Okay. Anyway, back to the article. In the interest of everyone's safety, most Canadians from all communities have been respecting the local quarantine guidelines in place. We expect the authorities to enforce the law on a fair and equal basis, said the CEO. So some illegal mass gatherings get tickets and some don't. There's an interesting divide, and it's being noticed by a lot of different people, not just small-time Canadian YouTubers. Laura Stone, it's pretty extraordinary that Premier Ford is no longer even delivering good news, right? Yeah. No, we're just going to dispense with having Ford in the public at all. Here he is in the legislature. It says, Premier Ford asked why golf courses and outdoor activities were closed against the advice of the Science Advisory Table. He says, we wanted to limit mobility. I don't know that this is... I don't know that this complies with the way law works. I don't know that this is a reasonable goal. Listen, we wanted to keep everyone in their homes, so we closed golf. I don't know that you can do that. Like, I don't know that that's a reasonable conclusion to draw, right? Like, we want to limit COVID-19. To limit COVID-19, we have to keep people locked in their homes for an indeterminate amount of time, even though they've committed no crime. Golf is a thing that would make people leave their homes. We have to close golf. I don't know that you can make that in order to fight COVID-19. We have to close golf. I don't know that you can make that conclusion. Here's Ford. I hope this is loud enough. I don't know that it is. Here's the whole interview, or the whole exchange is here. But this is just a little bit of it. If it's not loud enough, apologies, but I'll just play this here. Here we go.
Mr. Speaker, you know, I have a great deal of respect for the health table and the science table. We did receive a couple messages there to limit mobility. So we wanted to limit mobility. And when I asked Dr. Brown from the science table, he has a little chart, yes, no, what you can do, what you can't do. And when it was outdoor playgrounds, I just saw it last week, and we'll send a copy over to the Leader of the Opposition. It had a big no to it. Yes, to open it up if everyone wore masks. Mr. Speaker, how many people, when you drive by those playgrounds, do you see wearing a mask? You don't see anyone wearing a mask. So there's a little bit of a message. Limit mobility, make sure everyone stays at home, but in other cases, if they go out, everyone has to wear a mask. I understand that. The good news is, Mr. Speaker, the good news is numbers are leveling off. So the protocol and the guidelines are working. And
so the building the narrative to have masks mandated outside seems to be what's happening now, which is interesting to note, right? And talking about having no access to playgrounds, when asked about golf facilities, etc., it's interesting that they're going back to revisit this. I thought we had that battle and the people won. We were not going to have the playgrounds closed, right? It's a very interesting situation because people aren't paying attention to the experts and to the leadership anymore, and they're finding ways around it. How many people have signed up for a haircut 1-to-1, cut out the barber, and just had an illegal haircut on their deck or something to that effect? I've heard of this quite a lot, right? So when that happens, yesterday I made the comparison of like a big empty jar full of rocks, and people find a way to live like the space between the rocks, like the air between the rocks, or fill it up with water, and that's the space that's full, or the space that people are inhabiting, right? Like around all of these regulations. And that's not a good trade. That's not a good way to live. That is a bad trade. Everybody loses in that situation. And limiting mobility, while maybe noble, while maybe what these people believe the only way to do the job that they think needs doing, I don't know that would pass the basic tests of our legal and government systems that are in place to pass laws. I don't know that it would. I don't think that it would. But again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a guy in a cottage. Mark Toey says, what is Ontario's target date for reopening? Oh, Mark Toey, welcome to me 6 months ago, man. I was like, after half a year of this, it seems like 2 weeks to flatten the curve was a bit of a stretch at best, right? If not an outright lie. So Mark's asking, what's the target date? They don't have one. He says, what's the plan to get there? Plan to get where there, buddy? Who's in charge? Good one, right? Right. Gavin Newsom says California will effectively end its mask mandate next month when the state plans to fully reopen after more than a year of COVID-19 restrictions. So we don't even have metrics for even what it looks like to begin to reopen Ontario. We don't even have a clear outline of what that would take at this point in time. It's very uncomfortable to talk about it. And if you talk about it, we'll smear you with mean names. Right? We might delist your YouTube channel a little bit more. Yeah, it's interesting, right? It's interesting. It's wild what is happening. So who's got what plan now? Who's doing what now? Here's the plan. Extending Ontario's lockdown will lead to less restrictive summer and a more normal fall, CTV Toronto says. What does less restrictive summer mean? Last summer, did you feel very restricted? Did you feel like you couldn't drive to, say, Manitoba or Quebec for a Canadian holiday or something like that to see family or whatever? But now, no, right? Even if you wanted to stay in a hotel and, have a driveway visit with your family, trying to comply with the public rules, meet in a park for a few consecutive days, do some sightseeing around Ottawa, right? Or around Montreal, right? Who knows? And instead, a less restrictive summer is on offer, right? And a more normal fall, more normal. What does that mean, CTV News? What does that mean, Doug Ford? It means that they don't want this to end, right? That's what I think that they mean by all of this. I think that it's very, very insidious because the messaging is getting you ready for that. Listen to the messaging here. Compare. Okay. CBC News. Some rodeo organizers worry that the recent unsanctioned events near Bowden, Alberta, marked by anti-maskers, anti-vaxxers, and COVID deniers, made their sport look bad, and that it reinforced long-held stereotypes about Western Canada. Okay, so terrible, awful rodeo people who put together a rodeo in violation of the current COVID laws. But Global News says they put an open casting out to southern Alberta for people who might be interested and might have days that they're available to come out and be a part of the fun, be a part of the atmosphere. Extras needed for The Last of Us TV series filming in southern Alberta. So if you have a church that you'd like to go to, make sure you're filming a church scene for your YouTube docu-series Churches and Southwestern Ontario 2021. Right? Anybody got a church that needs documenting on a Sunday? I can do multiple churches at once. Very interesting, right? We're looking at religious practices in the COVID-19 era, mimicking 2018. Anyway, very interesting. You can get together for a casting call, but you can't get together for an actual church service, right? Very, very interesting. The World Economic Forum says, what is a vaccine passport and will you need one the next time that you travel? I don't know. What is a vaccine passport? This was released 3 hours ago by the World Economic Forum, the vaccine passport thing. This was released yesterday. This, I guess, is from Justin Trudeau's presser. Now, I was in transit yesterday and I haven't been able to do my due diligence on this. It's got a cut in it I don't like. This person's saying that Canada is going to require domestic vaccine passports. I don't know that that's a conclusion you can draw from this video clip, but I saw it and I wanted to share it. So take it with a grain of salt. I don't know that that is necessarily true, that Canada is moving to domestic vaccine passports, but I think that that is part of the plan. See the previous tweet, right? What is a vaccine passport and why will you need one when you travel, right? Here's Justin Trudeau kind of echoing what the World Economic Forum is saying. Here we go.
Anything we can do to encourage people to get vaccinated is going to be important, and that's where the idea of proof of vaccination for different services or better access is something to look at. Walk the path between respecting someone's privacy, but also understanding that whether or not someone's vaccinated is something that we should be able to make use of to both encourage people to get vaccinated and.
So I don't know that that's a slam dunk conclusion there on that, but I think that they're building the framework, and here's what I mean. New Brunswick Teens starts online petition calling for loosening of COVID-19 restrictions for New Brunswick truckers. Truckers bring all of our goods in, right? And they load them from the warehouse to the store so you can pick them up. Or I guess now they just go direct from the warehouse to your house. Anyway, 13-year-old Lena Stiles of Sackville says she's taking a stand for New Brunswick truckers like her father. Quote, they work so hard to keep this country going, said Lena. Last week, she said she started an online petition calling on the provinces to give truckers more freedom when they return home to their families. Under new COVID-19 restrictions, drivers are expected to stay home unless they're getting necessities of life, according to public health regulations. Lena said she cannot spend any time with her dad outside of the home. So this turns into basically a request for rapid testing. And I think rapid testing is, here's a rapid test that says you're COVID free, and here's your note that says you've got a recent rapid test. And that's going to morph into, if you take this vaccine or whatever you want to call it, if you do this, then you don't have to do that. And then here's your status card for having that, right? And so, I don't know. There was talk before about the working groups talking about vaccine passports, saying they don't know how long the immunity lasts, so what would be on it? And I think that doesn't matter. I think that the date of the vaccination or the date of the most recent test is all they need. And then they'll say, oh, wow, as of blah, 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 you need a new test. It'll only be $5. Multiplied by the entire population, multiplied by however many times they need to do it, right? However many times you need to re-up. Anyway, very interesting. That's what I think they're building here. So this flips into that really nicely, right? Like if you work for somebody and invariably people's work is going to get them into this trap one way or the other, right? Here's the report from the World Health Organization's independent panel is out, and all you need to know is the attached screenshot. It recommends lockdowns all over again the next time around, and there will be a next time. It says, and so here's the link to the report, and it says every country should apply non-pharmaceutical NPIs, public health measures systemically and rigorously at the scale the epidemical situation requires, and with explicit evidence-based strategy agreed at the highest levels of government to curb COVID-19 transmission. So you better listen. You better listen, right? Wow. This is a very interesting clip from Jason Kenney yesterday. He's talking about how Alberta is different than Texas, but he goes from they paid for the reopening in millions of lives, and then says hundreds of thousands of lives, and then says 50,000 lives. And I'll show you the Texas numbers. So this is the death rate from coronavirus in the United States as of May 12th by state. Texas numbers are per 100,000, right in the mid of the United States, despite their completely open status. So he's fear-mongering. Florida's even further down, I think. Florida's, right over here, right? So despite it's relatively, it's completely open, right? You'd think their death rate would be massively spiked, right? You'd think so. But at the end of the clip as well, Jason Kenney goes on an extended explanation of why this is. We have socialized healthcare system, and because of that, we don't have nearly as many critical care beds because the American system is privatized, and they've got all these staffed beds. They've got 8,000 staffed beds, so they're not worried about it. And we have to do this because we have this system. It's like a full-throated endorsement of the U.S. system. It's a very interesting situation because there was a time when most Canadians would not agree with a full-throated endorsement of the U.S. system. But Jason Kenney is basically blaming the entire lockdown on the fact that we don't have the capacity in our healthcare system. And if that's the case, you've had a year. Why in the world haven't you done anything to fix that critical piece of infrastructure? It just doesn't make any sense. Okay, I'm going to make sure it's cued properly. Hold on. Okay, here's the clip. Millions of lives turns to hundreds of thousands of lives, turns to 50,000 lives. 50,000 lives is very different than a million lives or millions of lives. Okay, here's Jason Kenney.
Population protection at the cost of millions of lives. And hundreds of thousands of lives, I should say, like in Texas, 50,000 lives that have been lost. 3.6 times more.
Millions of lives. Hundreds of thousands of lives. No, it's not millions of lives, and it's not hundreds of thousands of lives. It's 50,000. And the deaths per capita is, mid-level, Texas and Florida, right? So that's notable. Why is Jason Kenney trying to say that? Why is Jason Kenney trying to say we can't possibly compare ourselves to those places and we can't compare our outcomes to theirs because look at how many more people died? This is not an honest argument from the leader of the United Conservative Party. And I think that he's going to have a reckoning with his caucus soon. I don't have enough time. And usually I try and get this comparison actively done before the show. But again, I don't have enough time today. I'm trying to get things done so I can go cottaging. Emergency plumbing. But I don't know how to compare apples to apples to Texas's rate, which appears to be pretty average for the United States, and Alberta's rate. Are we that much better than the United States that Kenney can make that statement, or is he misspeaking there? So sorry about that. That's a nugget for the comments. Okay, we're going to go over to the Redacted channel now, and so thanks for watching, everybody. Check out CanadaPoly.com, check out CanadaReport.co, check out SpeakingMoistly.co, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.